We often assume that humans hold the highest intelligence in the world, but perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves. Shouldn't we first define what intelligence truly means? How can we judge intelligence in other species or in nature when we barely understand their minds, communication, and complex connections? If intelligence exists in forms we can't yet comprehend, maybe the real question isn't who is the most intelligent, but rather how many forms of intelligence exist beyond our understanding. Chapter 1: The Intelligence of Nature, a Profound Mystery. When we think of intelligence, we usually imagine something human: logical thinking, language, technology. But what if we're only seeing a small fraction of what intelligence really is? Nature shows us patterns, behaviors, and creative solutions that don't look anything like we'd call intelligence, yet they work in ways that often leave us amazed. Constantly, I look at things in nature and ask myself, how is that possible? The level of connection, communication, and synchronization in constant repetitive situations. For example, how birds synchronize their movements in the sky, or how messenger pigeons always return home. This is kind of personal, as my dad was a hobbyist pigeon breeder and pigeon raiser, and he had them on our house roof, so I know a bit quite about them. Basically, how it works is you get two messenger pigeons. Ideally, they're pigeons that have been trained and that are from a good breeder. It's kind of like how dogs work or like horses work. There are reputable breeders and there are champions. And the champions that breed usually have champions as well, It's kind of like a breeder thing that babies of the champions are sold, much more expensive because they have a much more higher chance of winning the tournament. But how does this work? After getting the pigeons to breed, little pigeon will eventually hatch, and the idea is that the pigeons will get fed every day there, and they will identify that zone as their home. When they're old enough to fly, they start taking them out, and they know that they will get, their meal there. So little by little, they start, taking the pigeons farther, letting them fly, and they will eventually get back. And it's cool because when they're near, my dad will whistle, and they will recognize that sound with food, and they will fly right back in. Of course, that's not the impressive part. The impressive part is that, they could go into competitions that they were 500 miles away from my house, and they would, release 20 pigeons from my dad, and they would come back. Maybe not all of them, but, they will come back, some of them. And it's really cool because they fly on specific ways that makes them, cut the air easier, and that makes them less, it just improves their chance of surviving when they have eagles around and stuff like that. Flying in masses, so, in one way it kind of looks, like a bigger thing, and in the other way it's a probability thing too, if you're flying with 20 other birds, then you only have 1 in 20 to be eaten, right? Anyways, going back to intelligence in nature, the way the trees communicate through the roots, and even how plants grow in precise patterns that repeat everywhere in life. All of these seem to have kind of a purpose, a wisdom, and intelligence. Chapter 2: Anthropocentrism, humanity's blindness to natural wisdom. We humans have the tendency to think that we're the center of everything, that we have the complete control and knowledge. This idea is called Anthropocentrism, and while it's natural to feel like we're the most advanced beings, this mindset can also make us blind, and it makes us underestimate other forms of life as if we're the only ones with real intelligence. But what if we're wrong? If we look closely, maybe we will see that nature's intelligence doesn't need words or technology. It has its own system, one that defies our logic, and that makes it even more beautiful. Chapter 3: The Magic of Mycelium, its network and intelligence. One of the most impressive examples of natural intelligence is Mycelium, an underground network of fungi that connects trees and plants almost like a natural internet. And here it gets fascinating. In Japan, scientists recreated the Tokyo transport system in a lab using food to represent different stations. Then they introduced Mycelium to see what it would do. The result was incredible. This fungi, with no brains or no eyes, found the fastest and the most efficient route to each point, solving the map of Tokyo's subway system in almost the same way humans engineered the subway system. It's like Mycelium intuitively knew the best ways to connect everything. How can something without a nervous system solve complex problems like this? Is that intelligence? Or is it something else entirely? Chapter 4: Vibrations and Cymatics, the language of nature. Then there is the phenomenon of vibrations. Have you ever seen cymatics? It's when sound vibrations create shapes and patterns in materials like sand or water. If you play certain frequencies, you start seeing perfect symmetrical designs. It's almost like sound is speaking its own language. Nature seems to respond to vibrations in ways that we don't fully understand yet. What is this? Is this not intelligence? Or is it just that we lack the senses or understanding to recognize it as such? Maybe nature is using a kind of intelligence that we can't fully understand, something that goes beyond our definitions of thought and reason. You want to find the secrets of the universe? Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. Chapter 5: Beyond Our Understanding, a beautiful mystery. So maybe intelligence doesn't just look like a brain solving problems. Maybe it's all around us in ways we don't even recognize. Maybe it's filled with mysteries, plants communicating, animals seeing things beyond our perception, and patterns emerging from sound and vibration. When we try to understand these things, we often fall short. It's as if we're looking at something so complex our minds can't wrap it around it. But maybe that's okay. Maybe part of the beauty of nature intelligence is that it remains unknown. How much we still don't know and how much we still have to learn will remain a mystery for now and days to come. Outro. Can we relate to the human brain and the different types of intelligence? I know this is old news, but what if street smart and book smart are only the tip of the iceberg? What if capitalism and the lack of motivation and free time is keeping society from finding their true intelligence, where ideally you have to make up your mind of what you will do for the rest of your life at 18. We all know about the cost of opportunity, but these types of dilemmas keep me up at night. Maybe, just maybe, it's because I have ADHD.